Hey, Nicole Huntsman here from moderncosmic.com. We have got our sun sign compatibility here on this video. Cancer Sun. So Cancer, these are our folks born from June 21st through July 22nd. Cancer is traditionally the crab. That's the animal that we've used as the symbol for Cancer. I like to think of a turtle. I think a turtle is a more apt symbol because with the turtle, yes, the Cancer does have a little bit of a crunchy outer shell, right? And they like to pull themselves in when it's time to withdraw if they're in a situation where they feel threatened. But ultimately, it's also because they kind of carry their home around on their back. Cancer types are nostalgic. They have a hard time getting rid of things, whether it's things, objects, or old lovers or old friends. They hold on to the people or the things or the thoughts, even the values that they consider important and that they have placed high on their, ladder of personal values or people that have made an impact on their heart. So with Cancer, you've got an individual who's interested in security. That's why they, with objects or money, they're good savers. A lot of times it's because they're trying to create this safe space in their life, all right? It's their womb. We associate Cancer with the home. We associate Cancer with, it's more of an introverted expression. Okay, so Cancers, a lot of times, if you had a pure Cancer, this is someone very sensitive and they are intuitive about where someone else is at emotionally, and they won't necessarily say anything. A lot of times they'll just see you and they'll notice you, and perhaps they're like sponges. They'll take things in, they'll take information in without you really maybe even knowing that they're taking it in, and then it will come back out later. They'll see you sort of repeat a pattern and they'll see, oh, okay, this person's experiencing this, and they'll come give you a hug, or they will touch you, or they will offer to make you a meal, or this is a Cancer thing. They're really sensitive to noticing these patterns in other people's emotional behavior. On the high side with Cancer, we've got someone who is sensitive to others. We've got someone who does have a strong ambition. Their desire to create security feeds their drive. It feeds their career ambitions many times. You've got someone warm and affectionate. They have a nostalgic kind of nature to them. They can be sentimental in a way, so it depends on, of course, the entire chart, but a lot of times Cancers, they're pack rats in a way, whether it's that they collect a certain okay, so for example, my mom, she's a gardener, and she plants anywhere she's lived, that she's always had these beautiful flowers and whatnot, and she kind of collects plants. She collects them and puts them around her, and makes this little plant home, and then she of course takes care of them. That's very Cancer, that hobby of hers. And then my boyfriend, for example, when he travels a lot for work. He'll keep his flight. His flight tickets or his receipts, and he'll use them in his books as little bookmarkers, and they're little mementos to remind him of the trip, and they're also something he's keeping physically around him. So that's kind of Cancer high side, but they're little pack rats in a way. But there's a nostalgic quality or sentimental nature to it. They also are really great at, as I said earlier, recognizing needs. They have this mothering instinct, this desire to make you feel better and to give you love and to take care of you. And in particular, if you're sick or if you're, just sad, emotionally having a hard time, that really pains them. They want to make you feel better. On the low side with the Cancer, they can be, because they're, like I said, there's this introverted expression of their life force. They can sometimes appear to be aloof or cold or standoffish. And they kind of are. Remember, like the crab with his little shell and his pinchers, he's like, ah. But really, a crab on the inside is mush, right? So they're protecting. They sometimes will stand back and sort of hang back, see if they're safe and secure in a situation, and then they'll interject themselves. So they have there's an introversion there of their self-expression. They can sometimes withdraw from conflict. A lot of the water signs, when there is heavy-duty fighting or a conversation that needs to happen that's not a comfortable conversation, water signs can sometimes withdraw. They check out, they back off, and they move away from the fight. Even if you have someone that's quite aggressive in other ways, they can sometimes, when their personal values are crossed, you know, like in work and things like this, they can sometimes pull back and be a little passive aggressive. So that's something that Cancers, you know, are known for. And it's almost because it's like they don't want to be hurt also, of course, but it's also they pull back from the fight a little bit, and then they have to kind of regather themselves, and then many times they'll come back. In a relationship with a Cancer, you just have to, if sometimes they do just need that time too where they're introverted and they're doing their own thing. So just let them do it, and they'll come back out. They'll turtle their heads back out. Also, they can be a little bit slow to open up. It also goes with the need for security. They can be moody, they can be broody like a broodmare, you know, kind of goes along with the motherly aspect. They have times in their life where they need to introvert, pull back, and just, you know, be to themselves so they can process things. And just let them do it, they'll come back out. So, Cancer in love. Now, Cancer is our zodiac sign that is sort of the most in flux. It's ruled by the moon, and our moon is constantly changing in our sky every couple of hours even, right? It's moving, and I mean, it's changing every second. It's moving to some degree every second. So Cancer is the same. Cancer, and because also think of the moon, how we can see one side of the moon and the other side is in total darkness. This is like the Cancer's emotional nature in a sense. There's a polarity there. There's an up and down nature to it. There are times when the Cancer just really needs to, as I said earlier, they need to be inside of themselves, okay? Now, a Cancer with a really good partner, a good partner would be someone that recognizes that and protects that in the Cancer. And my boyfriend, who's Cancer, has a quote that I love, and I'm gonna ruin it, but it's something about when you love someone, it's your job, it's your duty to protect the solitude of the partner. And that is the perfect quote for a Cancer to hold as their ideal quote about what ideal love looks like. It's your job to protect your partner's space and their feelings, and also it's your job to provide them with a little womb where they can truly open up and emotionally give you what they have to give and receive what you have to give to them. They are very deep people, and their ability to love can be overwhelming. Even for, or I should say astounding is a better word. It can be astounding because it's really strong and deep, like the ocean, which is one of Cancer's rulerships. So Cancers, their expectations in love. Cancers are interesting. So while they have that introversion need, they also really enjoy having their partner physically around them. Whether they're kind of at home or just like running errands, they like being with their partner. There is a comfort there to having that other person physically close to them. It's a grounding kind of a comfort, and it's home. It's like they're home. So at home, obviously, being with you, but then also just going out and doing things together. That's something they enjoy, because it's like taking their little home with them. Remember, they're sentimental. They like to hold on to things. And so if you're their partner that they love, then they'll want to like be with you. They'll want to have you with them. Okay. All right. Edit. So safety and security is also really important to the Cancer. They expect their partner to be loyal and to be devoted to them. And it's interesting, jealousy from a Cancer is different than you'd see from perhaps an Aries or like a fire sign like a Leo. Jealousy in all the signs is different. That would actually be a good video. That'd be an interesting video series. Jealousy in a Cancer, it comes more from hurt feelings. It's more like, I gave you all of this. I gave you all of me, and now I feel like you took advantage of that and have been focusing your directions elsewhere, you know. So they want to feel like it's safe for them to love you, and it's safe for them to accept your love in return, and that you're not going to hurt them once you're inside their little soft, mushy, you know, places. Cancer's biggest fear, you know, Cancer, they're moody, they're emotionally deep, and they sometimes go to dark places. It's really common for Cancer Suns even, you know, Cancer mood even more so. There's an emotional depth there. This is the part of them that's vulnerable, and it's the part that they may worry may be unlovable, okay? That it's too much for someone else to have to deal with, or that they're not sure they just even want you to be in there because it just feels vulnerable and scary and like they're exposed. So their fear is that that's ultimately unlovable. If course, it's completely incorrect. You know, we're all lovable. So with your Cancer, just be tender with them and make sure that they know that you appreciate the things that they do for you, and that you show them in return through your actions that you love them. Okay. Scorpio. Scorpio, these are our sun signs born from October 23rd through November 21st. Now, I love Scorpio. Probably, I have my moon in the 8th house, the Scorpio house. So you have to bear with me. This is super self-indulgent, I guess. We have got our most intense, some would say intense, possibly secretive, deeper expressions of any of the sun signs when we have a Scorpio in our midst. There is an undercurrent with Scorp. This is a scorpion. I like to think of this as the other traditional symbols applied to Scorpio would be phoenix, the eagle, the snake, because these all have to do with regeneration, death, and rebirth. The Scorpio, in my mind, has a very strong, dark feminine energy, meaning we were all at one point in time in a womb that would have been a dark, wet place inside of a female, the feminine. And it's a place that was unconscious, that we don't remember. We were expelled from that place through a process that was probably painful, I would imagine, getting your head squeezed or squeezed? Yeah, squeezed. I was going to say squeezed. Squeezed through the birth canal, right? That cannot be pleasant. And you're this little soft, little thing, and you're helpless. So that's the dark feminine. Now, our mothers that give us life also give us death. Because to be born means you're here mortally, and you will die. So your mother gave you the gift of life and the gift of death. That's the dark feminine. That's Scorpio energy. Scorpio has to do with life and death. All of our big, big, big life lessons come through the life and death processes that we experience as humans. Everything from when you leave home to go to kindergarten as a 5-year-old, that part of your life dies and this new part is reborn. Scorpio and Pluto. Pluto rules Scorpio, and traditionally Mars also rules Scorpio. So I always look at both in the birth chart, placements of both Mars and Pluto to help inform the sun. That's for another video. But these are both strong masculine energies. Mars is, the warrior, and its passion, and its fight, and its aggression. And Pluto is also similar. It's also a sort of aggression in that it's like the explosion. It's the death and rebirth of something through a process that destroys something to give birth to something else. It's almost, to me, Pluto's really actually, even though it's traditionally a male god, it to me is female. It's the dark feminine. It's Pluto, the god of the underworld. Hello, that's about as feminine as you get. So, anyway, so Scorpio types. I don't want to get in too deep on this. Scorpio types are intense. They have an intensity to them. In a personality, it comes out through this understanding that the partner, it can almost be an ethereal. Partnership can be this ethereal thing where the partner could just disappear and the partnership dies, and they have to be faced with the mourning process of the death of this relationship. So this can make them quite possessive or jealous or paranoid, or they'll really pay attention to the things their partner's doing because they're looking for these little signs, waiting for the other shoe to drop, kind of a deal, right? Now, Scorpio also is traditionally thought of as ruling sex. It's like, oh, Scorpios are so sexy. They're sexed up, sex, sex, sex. All is any sun sign. We're human beings. It's one of our primal urges. We have a limbic system, so we desire sexual contact and emotional sexual contact and bonding and this kind of thing with our partners. So, of course, Scorpio does as well. It's how it's approached. So Scorpio, sexuality is a place for Scorpio where many times Scorpio energy is expressed through sexuality, because sex is a place where we see a perfect metaphor for life. So I always say 8th house is like this. You've got when we're born, you are one with the mother, right, in the womb. And then you're born, and then you got the mom and you got you. The individual, you take your first breath when you separate from the mother and you become a duality. It's you and the mother, all right? And then you have life, death, that rhythm, and then you die one day and are buried, cremated, whatever, okay? Your spirit ascends and goes elsewhere, in my mind. Now, with sex, you have, instead of having the one, you have the two come together to make the one. So you've got the duality coming together to make the singular, the unity, the one. And in this process, you have two people come together, they kiss, they share the breath of life with one another. Just like when you are born, you have to take that first breath alone. Sexuality is about coming back together to the oneness and sharing it with another person. That's Scorpio. That's 8th house. 8th house is all about sharing these intense bonds and contracts we have with other people. And this includes in business. This is why 8th house has to do with like loans and, money, child support, it's agreements and contracts that have been made that involve the exchange of resources, okay? Okay, so that's Scorpio. A high functioning Scorpio, you've got someone who is focused, driven, determined. There is a strong that Martian energy, which is quite masculine, it's the masculine energy, combined with the Plutonian energy, which is this ability to transform situations. They can see the psychological underpinnings in relationships between people, like in business. They can see patterns. They can know. And they have a very strong intuition where they just kind of know the way and the direction things are going to run. So they stick with that. But they're also they're good at keeping secrets, and they're good at keeping confidences with other humans. And they'll use that many times. I mean, they understand psychology, so they're good. They're good. We'll talk about this in a second. They can be manipulative. That's what I'm trying to say. But they really what they desire is intimacy with their partner. They desire closeness. They desire that bond that is unbreakable, like a to the death bond. That's what they really want. So they can be kind of intense, and they can focus all of their energy on one person. That's quite Scorp. A lot of times Scorpios, they'll be in situations with unrequited love, because when they fall in love, they really fall in love, and they're sort of stuck there. Until someone else, I suppose, comes along, but they'll still harbor that, okay? So, and also they're very sensually expressive. They are good lovers. I mean, they are comfortable going places that are quite kinky that other people maybe aren't comfortable going into. Again, look at their moon and look at their Venus. That's going to tell you emotionally how they feel about that. But because a Scorpio is interested, as most of the water signs are, they're interested in pleasing the partner, they'll roll. Low functioning Scorpio. Traditionally, Scorpios are known as being jealous. It's always, oh, Scorps are jealous, they're possessive, they're, yada, yada, yada. Yes, they are. But let's talk about why they are. Like we said earlier, Scorpio is dealing with this deep understanding, this deep sort of unconscious knowing that once something's been born, including a relationship, it will one day die. Knowing this on a really deep level, they carry that with them. So in relationships, many times, that is what drives or can fuel perhaps jealousy or worry. It's more of a worry, I feel like, and then it turns into jealousy, and it turns into like anger, because it starts as a knowing, moves to a worry. So it starts in here, feeling, moves up into the brain. They're knowing something, and then it comes back down to here, knowing it and worrying. They'll worry, ruminate about it, and then it comes back down to here, and then they're mad, they're angry. And that's when you see jealousy, okay? Because Scorps are pattern watchers. They're noticing. They notice, and they don't even know they're noticing because they're ninjas, like they're ninja noticers, and then it will come out later in an eruption of jealousy, or them going through stalking your Facebook or something, stuff like that. It's also Scorpio moon, also someone who's got the moon in the 8th house. These things can happen. So or someone who's got Pluto conjunct the sun or the moon, they'll also have these similar characteristics. So they're intense emotionally. They can be temperamental. They can be. All the water signs can be kind of passive-aggressive. Scorp's less likely to be passive-aggressive unless it's someone they really love and they don't want to hurt the relationship. And so they're in this double bind where they want to say something like they normally would in a business situation. Normally they're very quite aggressive, but in an interpersonal situation, they're sensitive to the partner, but then they're also mad at themselves for not saying something. They get resentful, and then it becomes this passive-aggressive or silent treatment thing or control thing where they're trying to control the partner. So it can get a little messy. And the biggest issue the Scorpios have, all Scorps, they are so determined and focused on something, which is great, but they need to know when to let go and to stop, okay? I've got my second daughter, third child, she's Scorpio, and very Scorpio, and Libra everything else. Like all of her personal planets Libra, but Scorpio Sun. And she is very loving, but man, when she has her mindset on something, it's really hard to explain to her logically that no, you can't have that bag of popsicles right now. And she will sit and talk with you and try and convince you for 30 minutes that she should have that bag of popsicles. That's Scorpio, okay? That's also Scorpio mixed with Libra. But she doesn't do it my other daughter's Libra with all Scorp, and that energy is very different. She's also very determined, but she candy coats it The Scorpio Sun isn't going to candy coat it. They're going to care a lot about their interpersonal relationships with that a lot of Libra stuff, but the Scorpio on the outside makes them more aggressive and more, you know, like in your face with it, okay, and not quitting. They're like a pit bull. They don't let go. Even a really sweet Scorpio, when they want something, they're very determined, okay? Scorpio in love, as we've been discussing, they're intense and focused. This definitely applies to their love relationships. They can be obsessive. They can many times, this is common with the Scorpio, when they fall for someone, they can have this unrequited love thing I was talking about. They fall really deeply very quickly. Actually, not quickly. No, they fall very deeply, and it's something that really hits them in the middle, and they may sense that they know something, that this is someone that's meant to be with them, that sort of thing. And they've got to be careful that what they're thinking that they're knowing, that it's not actually something else that's subconsciously brewing inside of them. Perhaps this person that they're falling for so deeply, who's not requiting the affection, perhaps this person simply holds energy or behaves in a way that reflects their own inner whatever part of them that they feel like this person reflects, right? So you'd have a Scorpio that's more shy, who's attracted to someone who's really confident and bold, and I'm using a very simplistic comparison, but you know, so many times the Scorpios need to ask themselves, if the person's not requiting the feelings, what is it about this person that they carry that I lack, okay? And that can give you some insight in love. But that being said, side note, Scorpios in love, they have an intense sense that they should be in this partnership. If they're going to be in a partnership, they need to feel like this is meant to be, okay? Because there's a fated quality. There's this, it needs to have the sense that it's this contract they've made with one another and they're meant to be together. Also, very important to note, Scorpios, they are extreme. They want it all or they want nothing. They have a really hard time with the gray area in between. They'll walk it for a while if they love someone, but they're going to be really at least on the inside, pissed off that they're having to operate in this place where they're in this gray area that's meaningless to them. They want either all of it or none of it. Like, what's this gray area? What is this? This is not even anything. It's fake, okay? They're authentic to the extreme, all right? Okay, so Scorpio expectations in love. Let's think of the myth of Pluto, right? He took Persephone away down to the underworld. Took everything. Like, Scorpio wants everything. They want true love. They want body, heart, soul, mind. They want you. You know, if they want the thing, all of it. And there's a possessive quality to Scorpio. You know, even if you've got a Scorp who's got, I know a Scorpio, I dated one who's got Uranus conjunct his Scorpio Sun. Okay, so we've got this freedom-loving energy conjunct a Scorpio Sun sign. So expressed for him, he was someone who had multiple, you know, people he was seeing. But I would say he was quite directed, and he needed to be in a role where he was kind of in charge. Would be sort of the Scorpio. He had to have that self-possession. And if he knew that you were seeing other people, he wouldn't really, he'd see you, but he wouldn't open himself up at all. It was all inward inside of him. So they will give you everything, and they expect everything in return. They won't give you anything until they think that they're going to get everything, kind of a deal too, you know. So they expect it all. They're an extreme sign. Scorpio's biggest fear, when you have a sun sign, a zodiac sign, a personality, that is one of extremes. It's all or nothing. It's intense, and there's a focus there. They can focus that intensity and shine it like a laser on one person. Their fear is that they understand that they're deep. They understand that they're intense and that they're a lot. And their fear is that it's not going to be reciprocated, and that it's maybe not even possible for it to be reciprocated. That they will walk the earth unrequited in their love, and that they'll be solo travelers. Even in a relationship, like there's even that fear for Scorps, you know, that they get into a love relationship where it's a committed relationship, but they feel like their partner is never quite in the same place that they're at, this life or death, I will die for you place. So they really need a partner who is as intense as they are, in my mind, who's grounded but really intense and willing to intensely go to those places. And it takes someone, in my mind, that has some strong Scorpio or some strong 8th house or some strong Pluto on their sun or their moon or their rising. Even their Venus maybe, but I would like to see it on luminaries because it's your personality. Like, you got to be okay with some intense depth for it to work. So Cancer and Scorpio, this is a match that's typically a very happy combination, unless we have something crazy happening with the moons. We've got two water signs, two people who are both emotionally based. You know, Cancer has this sort of introverted emotional nature. They're a little more broody. They worry about things. They're security conscious. And Scorpios have also sort of this inward expression of their emotions in a sense, or there's a secretiveness or a privateness to the way that they deal with their emotions. A lot of things that they keep inside of themselves. Scorpio many times will feel like they're traditionally ruled by Mars, you know. So Scorpio's sort of inner warrior will come out many times for that Cancer. There's this sense that they want to protect the Cancer, and especially with, of course, a Scorpio male and a Cancer female, there's this desire to appreciate that feminine quality, that vulnerability that the Cancer has, and then of course the Scorpio feels like they've got this safe place and this person that they can open up to, and you know, in reverse, even a male Cancer and a female Scorpio is lovely too. They're both quite a nice combination. So they'll be attracted to each other's depth, and there's a magnetic attraction initially between these two. Long-term interaction between these two, these are still deep waters, deep waters. These two, if you've got nice, happy synastry charts between the two where everything else is looking good, not just the sun signs, then you have the potential for a pretty fantastic long-term, passionate, intense, affectionate romance. Could be quite idealized, and could be one that has some depth to it, some elements of, or issues of, themes of security versus insecurity could come up. Jealousies could come up between these two. You know, the Cancer tends to be a little bit worried about security. They want to feel safe and they want to feel contained. Scorpio has this, because they're so intense, they're very careful about who they open up to. And so both of them, when they come together and sort of lay their cards on the table and open up and are vulnerable to one another, are both in this sort of magical position of, oh wow, you're seeing me and I'm seeing you, and this is not something that, I know, either of us usually let other people observe. So in that space of vulnerability, they can develop a really strong bond, which is fantastic and lovely and wonderful, juicy. And it should be noted, I haven't talked much about sex on all of these compatibility videos because I've sort of just focused on the personalities and how the personalities will jive with one another. But you can't not mention the fact that these two will have a passionate pairing. You know, you've got the moon with Cancer, which is that flux, that's that feminine, reflective sort of personality type, okay? And then with Scorpio's Mars and Pluto is very masculine. It's focused on its goal, you know, it's like very laser focused. So it's very masculine. So it's a very sexy combination. And it's interesting, I've heard that, I'm actually an astrologer for a madam, and she told me she's got more Cancer women that work at her brothel than any other sun sign. Cancers, especially Cancer females, they want to nurture and care for their partner, and they'll kind of do what the partner wants. Even if you have a really strong Cancer female, I've got a client that's just an awesome powerhouse of a Cancer. She's got a Libra moon, and she's not the type that would be like stepped upon, but she's also got that very feminine mystique to her, where I would imagine with men she would be amenable to, you know, whatever it is that they want. So with Scorpio is quite focused on what he or she wants. So that's a nice little dance, because they'll have someone that will sort of work with them, and not that they're going to mold that person, but Scorpio wants to like Scorpio wants to possess you. Even if you got someone with Scorpio Mercury, they'll want to sit and talk to you, and you'll be done talking and they're still wanting to kind of hold on to the conversation. There's this quality of possessive and holding on to something with Scorpio. So, and Cancer will be okay with that. Cancer will merge, and there's a nice little, because they're both water, they'll get each other. Specific areas of conflict and harmony. You do have, with Scorpio, you have manipulation issues on both sides, actually. With Scorpio, it's more overt, and with Cancer, it's more indirect. So Scorpio can be the type of male or female that can be a little jealous, whether they voice it or not. They notice things, they're very observant, and they're direct typically. And if they're bothered by something, if they're bothered or concerned that their partner is, you know, not being faithful or something, right? Or they're imagining whatever they're imagining. They try to control their partner's behavior. Cancer, on the other hand, can be a little passive aggressive. Instead of actively saying, what were you doing? Or I don't want you going to that place with that person, or blah, 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 blah. Cancer will just sort of withdraw and pout, or withdraw and just get kind of quiet before they really know, because they're sort of processing how to deal with the situation. They're just not quite sure how to handle it, okay? So Scorpio can be good, because this is the great thing about these two. They're very intuitive, so they'll know when their partner is having issues, and they will address them typically. You know, are you okay? What's going on? So there's your harmony between these two. And I have a weird shadow on my face, sorry. As far as how other people will see these two, they'll probably see this as a, you know, fairly intense, romantic, bonded relationship, and probably kind of a private relationship. Both Cancer and Scorpio keep a lot to themselves, so even if it's a couple that's out and about, there's a large element, a large part of the relationship that's you know, conducted behind closed doors that no one else knows about, but everyone sort of knows that they don't know about it, kind of a thing. So, yep. All right, well, thanks for watching, and good luck with your Cancer-Scorpio relationship. Okay.